بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In one of my trips to Iraq, I was with a group of people, and we had the opportunity, like we all get nowadays, to be in the presence of Ayatullah Sistani. May Allah prolong his life, inshallah. And there was a gentleman with us from the US who felt that in the presence of Agha, he felt like asking a question. So he said, and I was the translator, unfortunately. He said, how can you, an old man like yourself, these are his words, an old man like yourself, sitting in an alley in Najaf, claim to know so much that you can dictate our lives? So, and this is the presence of an awesome personality, a personality who knows how to handle these things, yeah. And he tells me, tell him that I am willing to switch places with him. I am willing to switch places with him. Let him come and wear my shoes and see what are the challenges I face and how I operate. Now, that time, of course, Agha went to explain that what he does, trying to explain to him. Whether that person was convinced or not is not my interest. The interesting part was the perspective. That what Agha wanted us to think about is that when we claim or whenever somebody thinks of a marja and there are complaints, there are criticisms, there are issues that we don't understand, there are confusions. So what we do is we start questioning. And we want to probe and we want to understand. We forget one very important thing, that he is sitting there, he there has a role to perform, a duty to deliver. And that is something we got to understand. So today, in the few minutes that I have before the question and answer session, I thought I would introduce this concept of who a marja is from a perspective of a marja himself. Not from our perspective, not from what we read theoretically as to who should be a marja. No. What does he have to do? What are his roles? What are his responsibilities? And I am not here to talk about the qualities of a marja, that he must be an alim, an adil, ithna ashari. All these things are secondary issues. We have to understand, first of all, why is a marja, and why do we have to follow him? Our Imam Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, Ajjallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif, he says in a hadith, when asked that what happens now, because when he was going from ghaibat al-sughra to ghaibat al-kubra, so he laid down conditions and he said, وَأَمَّا الْحَوَادِثَ الْوَاقِعَةِ, as for events that will now take place. أَمَّا الْحَوَادِثَ الْوَاقِعَةِ, and things are going to change, obviously. 1,000 years ago, 1,200 years ago, when the Imam disappeared, ghaibat al-sughra and then ghaibat al-kubra, from there on up to today, things have happened, things have developed. The society has changed, the thinking has changed, the level of knowledge has changed, the level of comprehension and understanding has changed. So, when the Imam says, وَأَمَّا الْحَوَادِثَ الْوَاقِعَةِ فَارْجَعُوا, this is the word. Imam has said. The word farja'u, and whoever you return to is marja. The place you return to, the person you return to is called marja. فَارْجِعُوا فِيهَا إِلَى رُوَاتِ حَدِيثِنَا. That you refer back to those who narrate our ahadith. فَإِنَّهُمْ حُجَّتِي عَلَيْكُمْ. They are my proof over you. وَأَنَا حُجَّةُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. And I am Allah's proof over them. So the Imam laid down conditions, and the word marja comes from his instructions, farji'u. But if you strip down semantically the word, what does it mean? Simple. It is such a simple word. It means you refer back for things we don't know. So if I take you gradually and chronologically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. We all accept He created us. And then we all are cognizant that He guided us. He sent guidance. He sent the prophets, He sent the holy book, He sent the imams, all these personalities and the holy book to guide us. So that guidance came down to help us lead a proper life like a human being on this earth. We all agree, there are no arguments there. The question is that sharia that He has sent, that guidance that He has sent, what is it? Quran, I opened the Quran. The Quran is not enough. And anybody who tells you kafana kitab Allah is lying. Because the Quran needs interpretation. So that interpretation that we did with the Quran is the Prophet, the Ahlul Bayt. And as we move on, we come to a phase where we are the deprived ones, the unfortunate ones, that even our Imam is in occultation. So the onus is on us to know what does Allah expect from us, and how do we know? Either we do our own research and find out, or we refer to someone who knows. And subhanallah, the beauty here is that Allah has arranged for us to refer to someone who takes the responsibility and says, when I tell you to do something, even if it is wrong, I will bear the responsibility. You don't have to bear the responsibility. Now, how much easier can this get? The act of referring to someone who takes the responsibility for everything and says, this is guidance, this is what you're supposed to do to get close to Allah, this is what you're supposed to do to lead your life. So that marja is just a point of reference. But to be that point of reference, he has to be at that level where he can tell us what to do based on all the narrations and everything. But understand his role. That his role starts with number one, hujjatul ifta. That means he gives a fatwa taking the responsibility. Once you follow that, what he has given, you don't have to worry whether it is right or wrong. The responsibility is no longer yours. If you don't follow him, then the responsibility is yours to find the true thing. So marja's role, the first role is hujjatul ifta. That when I give you a fatwa, I take the responsibility of you following it. So that's number one. Halal, haram, makruh, mubah. But he takes the responsibility. Number two, there is the role of qada. Now qada means in a court of justice to settle disputes. Qada is judgment. So when there are disputes, when there are fights, when there are when crimes are committed, the penal code, all this, his responsibility as a marja is to make sure that the correct qada is taking place. Nobody judges. It is he or who he delegates or appoints that judges. And the third role that he has is mansabul wilayah. This is a very interesting concept because it will help you understand what is wilayah. He has wali. You know, wilayah starts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has wilayah. Allah has total control. Wilayah is to have control and power over us. He has total control and power over us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet has more control over us than we have over ourselves. Ar-Rasulu awla bikum min anfusikum. So he has more control over us than we have over ourselves. So that's the Holy Prophet. And then that wilayah extends, you get to the level of wilayatul faqih, where a faqih, and by faqih I mean a marja, somebody who has studied in deep principles, the principles of Islam, that faqih has got wilayah. Now where does he have his wilayah? And let me just try and explain this. I know I'm running short of time. Let me just try and explain this very briefly. Wilayah is his control over affairs where there is no one to control. So for example, an orphan who has no guardian. Who controls the affairs of the orphans? Or somebody who dies and leaves behind no heir. Who controls those affairs? It is the wali. And wali is wilayatul faqih, where a faqih has wilayah over these kinds of people who have nobody but him. He is the guardian. So he is the guardian of orphans, for example, of people who have no one. And this is a study in fiqh where he has control. He is the guardian. He is in custody of the affairs of so many things. The wilayah can extend to so many other things where Ayatullah Khomeini then extended it to all the affairs, including political. But in essence, the concept of wilayat exists, agreed by all baraja. The range of its application differs according to different opinions. These are three important roles that a marja is doing. And then we question, what is a marja doing? He takes the responsibility for giving you the correct fatwas. He takes the responsibility to give you the correct judgment. And he takes the responsibility of affairs when there is nobody to take care. So a marja is not about homes. And I must end here with one very important thing, that a marja is not, we are not doing a favor by doing taqleed of a marja. It is the marja who is doing a favor to us by taking the responsibility.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد